Well, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year, 2023. We're starting off the year with an amazing presentation by Jim Cowdell for EDIC, kind of talk about economic development in the City of Lynn. But first, I'm going to kick it over to Glenn Morris, the chair of the EDP committee.
I think you said it all. Happy New Year. Hopefully this will be the start of a great year, and welcome to Jim. We often hear from Jim on economic development in the City of Lynn, and January is a perfect time to hear from him again about what is happening with economic development in the city. Should we go around and introduce each other?
Yes.
I'm Glenn Morris. As Colin said, I'm chair of campus planning and a director of the chamber and a trustee at St. Mary's. And I'm chairman of Morris Architects.
Hi, Bill Bachnack, operations manager of EDIC Lynn.
Daniel Smith, I'm the policy director in the mayor's office.
Jim Keeley, owner of K Security Systems.
Hall Real Estate.
Christine Pierce, Columbia Insurance Agency.
Jim Cowdell, EDIC director.
Online, we have Nathan.
Hey, this is Nathaniel Dewhurst. I run a small business called Orienteer, doing web development and tech work. I live here in Lynn. Always interested to see what's going on as a resident and school person and business person. So looking forward to it.
Thanks, Nathaniel. We had someone else and they hopped off, so I'm guessing they were afraid to be on camera. So with that, I'm gonna share a screen and then kick it over to Jim to kick it off.
Well, good morning, everybody. I wanted to start off script a little bit. Rick Stabbid has announced that he's not running for re-election, and he's been an active member of the chamber, active member of this committee. Ward 2 councilor, served, I think, 3 or 4 terms on the school committee. So he's been around for a long time. I'm surprised he's not here today, but he's not running for re-election. So we don't always agree on things, but my wife and I don't always agree on things either. And he was a very responsive city councilor. Did a monthly newsletter. I'd never heard of, a lot of times when city councils get kind of burnt at the end, you hear about not returning phone calls, things like that. You never heard that about that to him. So I just wanted to thank him for his service. So.
There's a rumor on the street that he's going to run for Speaker of the House.
He chairs our government affairs meeting, which is the second Wednesday of each month. Actually, next week we're going to have Aaron Clausen, city planner, in to talk about some of the transportation related issues and stuff going on. So he's going to be in next week. So I sent him your presentation. I was like, don't overlap.
Yeah. So you have the presentation. The first slide.
Sorry.
That's not it.
You're in
Any
protective
questions
mode.
on the first slide?
Rick's been my Ward 2 councilor forever, and besides the newsletter, he's monthly, like little town hall meetings, which have been extremely well attended. He's just been, if I ever need anything, you reach out to him and instant. Yeah.
So here we go. So to the chamber in general, specifically to Colin, I always think of the chamber as my partner, and so I just want to say thank you to Colin and to the chamber, and wish everybody a happy, healthy, and safe New Year. Colin, thank you for everything. when you look back at 2022, you know, how many, just in this room, there's only us, right? How many people know of somebody who got COVID recently? Right? We just can't put it in the rearview mirror. I've never seen anything impact businesses like COVID. And so when you look back at 2022, certainly COVID was a big storyline. The mayor, the first dollar that they spent out of the opera funds was the city council and the mayor transferring $3 million to EDIC and via COVID grants. I checked on it yesterday. We only have about 100,000 left. So if there are businesses out there in the chamber that are interested in applying, please do so immediately. Just go to the EDIC website. So, there was other money allocated. EDIC put 318,000 of our own money into it. So those are the grants that were given out over the last 2 years. Really, it totals about $9 million. Over 600 businesses we were able. Those are grants, not loans, that we helped. 82% were female minority businesses in the city of Lynn. Just kind of a basic principle that when you're talking about economic development, and Colin, when I was a kid, the downtown, people came from all over, right? And it was retail shopping, this hub of the area. And I talked about it years in the past, but the malls came about in the late 70s, and it had a dramatic and negative impact on the downtown. And we're trying to kind of recover the identity of the downtown. And so one of the basic principles that we have is to put people living in the downtown, because if you live in the downtown, you're going to want to shop in the downtown and eat in the downtown, spend money in the downtown. And so in the last 2 years, when we're talking economic development, we've put well over 500 people. That number is almost double now. And so we really feel that once you kind of see the effects of COVID wearing off, that you're going to see a dramatic impact in a positive way in the business district. And this, one of my favorite pictures, this is the Cowdell looking out into the harbor. And in the rear of that picture, the northern part of this picture, you can see the North Harbor site that's been developed. Those were 2 vacant lots, and that put, Caldwell alone put about 400 people living in the downtown. This is a new building on Baldwin Street. It's a mixed-use building, first floor is retail. People are moving in now, and so again, with the theory of putting people into the downtown, it'll have an economic development spin-off. So that's up. It's totally completed. People are moving in now. This was, you know, what we did on the waterfront. When you look at the waterfront and you look at the mistake after mistake after mistake that has been done, right? I mean, we're the only place where you put a Walmart with, if you stood on the roof, you have a beautiful view of the ocean. We're the only place on the waterfront where you have fast food, used car lots, etc. So we came up with a vision, 19 public meetings. We have a vision, the zoning is in place. And now the development community has found Lynn. So you're seeing like this, Lynnway Mart, which is no longer there now, it's been torn down. It was sold to a major developer. It's going to be a 2-phase project. This will be the first phase, which will be mixed use. And then behind it, right on the water, will be a much larger development that'll happen probably 4 years from now. And also will include a very large public space for the people who live in the North Shore to enjoy. So you're going to start to see replacement of not bad uses, just uses that were really not fully, you know, reaching our potential. And so this project is underway now. Construction, they tore down the building, they did the test borings. You'll see the spring of this year that building starting to be constructed. So that's something that your members will see. It's at the waterfront.
Do we have any detailed information about what that makeup is going to be other than mixed use?
I can get you, put on the slide how much square footage of the commercial, no. So I'll get you the detail, but the first floor will be the commercial piece of it. Yeah, and what types of uses is it. So this is an aerial view. So it's interesting. So on the bottom of the slide would be the GE bridge, you know, heading into Revere. So this, as you're coming into the city, So that green space, right, is owned by Joe O'Donnell. But recently that has been acquired by Samuels, which if you know of Samuels, and if you want to Google them, they are major developers. They did a lot of development in Boston around the Fenway area. There is a plan for that huge green space that really hasn't been utilized in 40 years. Last use that I can remember was it the Harbor House? Right, yeah, the Harbor House down there. That was at least 40 years ago. So you will see in the next couple of years a major development where that green space is, which will be really nice. There'll be stores. There'll be a boardwalk that'll run along the water. It's going to really change that area. And then the building that you can see there is the Lynnway Mart, which is not there anymore. But I just want to give you kind of an aerial view of how big of a space we're talking on our waterfront. So those two projects, the building that's no longer there, you'll see construction in the spring. The other area, the green area, you're probably a year and a half away from seeing something happening there. But the plans are there; they've been approved. So that's a game changer. So your members that are listening now and kind of the first to hear about it, but it's definitely going to happen. The hospital, we fought very hard to keep the hospital. I feel strongly that the city of this side should have a hospital. We lost that battle. So that's no longer there. This is a sketch of, that's a sketch of what's happening there. Yeah. And so there's two parcels. One is on Linfield Street, which will be housing for low-income veterans, seniors. And then this is the rear part, which is off of Woodland. There will be 26 homes. If you go up there, they're well underway in constructing those two homes. So that's going on. This is a view of the waterfront. And so I talked about, is this over here? It does. Yeah. So I talked about this area in here being developed. This is about a little bit over 30 acres. When I was a kid, the city brought its trash here. It was a landfill, and it's being converted. Governor Baker a couple weeks ago was down here with the mayor. This is being converted into a regional park. So you will see this happening. If you go down there now, you can see the shell of what's going on. But this, again, and I talked about like the waterfront now having a vision. We want it to be a place, not where every square inch is developed, but a place where the public can come. There'll be a boardwalk that'll run all along here. This regional park with playground equipment. It'll have views. It's very similar to what the council president refers to as Spectacle Island. It will be a place where people come from all over. And I, born and raised here, will die here. I've never been down here. There's no reason to be here. This will activate this whole area. So we're really excited about that.
Are there any talks to move the Walmart?
Yeah, if I had a magic wand, I would take the Walmart and move it. But they have like 30 years left on the lease.
30?
Yeah, they signed it.
They don't want to go behind the fire station.
They
Yeah, market
put it by
basket.
market basket.
I'm
Yeah.
telling them, build a
Um,
building across the
That'd be
street.
a community Walmart.
No, but
People
to
would
your
walk
to your point, though, and we'll see it later, what you're going to see happening, right, is projects that are there now, property,
Mhm.
their values are going to increase because of the new
Wow.
development, and you'll see the turnover. And so maybe you'll see a Walmart
Yeah.
because its property is right on the water, so perhaps you'll see something, but it would have to be a really big deal.
Yeah. The other one is especially if we put a lot of commercial property down on the waterfront, down on that end, those places need parking.
Mhm.
I mean, you put a restaurant there, that restaurant needs what, 50 spots so that you could have, and as much as I don't love having a Walmart on our waterfront, having a big open parking lot on our waterfront, if we want to utilize that commercial property, that's essential. So pros and cons.
It's what we deal with every day. So across the street is the gas plant site. It's 60 acres. It's a vacant lot. There's a train stop that you can stop there now if you work at GE and get off and go into the plant. We think it's probably the most valuable piece of property that the city has. We would love to see that the mayor the city council and everybody is trying to get life sciences here in the city of Lynn. We think it would be a great place for some jobs, we need jobs. So we're working with the property owner, Charlie Patzios, to develop that site. So stay tuned on that one. Federal Street, we did Market Basket, which was a home run that created over 300 jobs. 90% of them went to Lynn people, which we're really happy about. But the other side of the street on Federal Street, right behind the fire station, is 7 acres. We're trying to get IET Demoulas to do what he said he was going to do. We did the infrastructure improvements down by the Hibernians and on Boston Street. In return, he was going to develop the site. So COVID was his excuse that he couldn't develop it. So now we're hoping that he comes to the table and develop it. He had talked about like an Applebee's and a bank and some type of a small Target store in there. So we don't know for sure yet what will go there, but it's on our radar and we're trying to sit down with them to get that project. A.W. Perry, where's Bob? Here's Bob. I'm a fan of A.W. Perry. They have a long history. They've been around for over 100 years. You haven't been there the entire 100 years, right?
I came along a few years back.
Yeah. They
Not many, though.
the reason why we like them and they bought Cowdell Farms is they don't flip properties, they buy properties for the long term. So when Bob and I sat down before they even put in a bid on that property, we talked about the vision of the waterfront and what was going to happen there. Short term, we're trying to work with A.W. Perry to the front part of the property, create some jobs. And then long term, there's how many acres is that real lot?
So there's 10 acres out back, and the 2 buildings along the Lynnway are on 7 acres, so
Yeah.
17 in total.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we're working very closely with Bob and his team in developing that site. It's an important site and one that hopefully can create some jobs and really good things to that area.
First lease starting January 15th. First lease
Breaking news.
in the big building. Wash cycle, yeah.
Nice. Do you
Yeah.
want to say what's going in there?
So wash cycle, they're a commercial laundromat. So in the near term, our plan was always to just continue to use that front building, those 2 front buildings as industrial space. So we have wash cycle, the commercial laundromat is taking 21,000 square feet of the 100,000 square feet in 626. And then 680, we are underway with build out for another airport related use. Wash cycle does a lot of work with the airlines, and that's why they like to be close to the airport. But we also have another Sky Chefs is a group that does a lot of work with the airlines. They do a lot of the catering of the meals that go on airplanes. They won't be doing that in our location here, but they will be doing storage for a lot of the linens and packaged goods and nip bottles, and where they actually have to have a customs approved secured area within the building for that kind of stuff, the duty free stuff. So
Yeah.
And their lease should be starting by the 1st of March. So it's been a long slog. We've owned the property now for 2 years, actually 2 years as of December 30th. And a lot of the work that we've done has been the stuff that you just don't see. We had to clean out the buildings with all kinds of dairy processing equipment that was still in the buildings. We've been doing a lot of the utility work inside the buildings, separating systems, building out space for the new tenants. And we just ran out of the weather window before the fall to be able to get started with the real improvements along the Lynnway. So we want to be teed up and ready to do that for the spring. I promise by summertime, the building's going to look a lot better than it does right now.
You heard it here. But thank you, Bob, for your investment in the city. The item building has been fully renovated. They're having a little bit of trouble with the commercial tenants on the first floor. So if you know of anybody that wants to open up, there's plenty of space there. EDIC can help finance the deal if you need financing. There's 30 apartments on the top floor. It literally is steps across the street to the train station. And so that's a key building, and it's in the middle of the downtown. We're very glad that that was renovated and put back to use. Solion is really a success story. It finally closed. So they're on Paris Street in downtown. So they finally closed. They officially own the building that closed about 4 weeks ago, right? Recently. And so they own the building now. Now the build out will start. Really a great story. That they only have about 7 employees now. They're about to take off. They do waterproofing, and so like they just got 2 huge contracts with the Department of Defense. Yeah. And so waterproof tents that they make, waterproof uniforms for the military. So they're about to really take off. We worked very closely with the state because every city wanted them. So the city council approved a tax incentive to help get them into Lynn. It will create 105 jobs into the high-paying jobs, $87,000 a year. They got a state grant as well. And as I said, they just signed another one. So on top of that one, they have 2 large contracts. So looking forward, we will partner with Lynn Tech as a feeder program for the jobs. And part of the condition of the tax incentive was that the jobs that are being created go to Lynn people. So it really was a home run. It'll bring those people into the downtown on Barrow Street. So we're really psyched about that. So we were just talking about, you were saying move to Walmart, right?
Yeah.
So this is an example of, so now that we have a vision and the development community has found Lynn. So this is the auto mall. It's been that use for at least 20 years, that I can remember. So that's what it is today. It was bought and now it's going to turn into that. And so you'll start to see that turnover. And that's a multi-million-dollar mixed-use property. On the first floor will be commercial, residential above. And in addition to that project going there, and it tells you the success that the city is having in attracting people, the development community into the city. Boston is just pricing out developers, and it's hard to do business in the city of Boston. And so Lynn has become a viable option. So this developer wanted to come here. We sat down with him, the mayor, and the development committee team that we have. And in addition to them agreeing to this, they also contributed a $3 million donation that will go into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the city. So really taking a low use, which was a used car place, and transforming it into that property. So, and you'll see more and more of that. So we have a life science focus. You know, when you look at where life science companies are, they're kind of just all together. They're struggling with filling jobs. They're struggling with the price of commercial property in that area. The City of Lynn, through EDIC, is a member of Mass Bio. How many cities in the entire state are members of Mass Bio?
Very few.
Yeah, I think it's 2, right? So just 2. The council and the mayor adopted a life science ordinance, which basically says that you can come here. We had a developer's tour. Bob, you were part of that. We had 70 people show up. We visited several sites in the city of Lynn with a lot of interest. So we want those jobs. Those are high-paying jobs, and we want those jobs here in the city. We think that we have a lot to offer. We're very competitive. So I think in the next year or so, you'll start to hear about life science companies coming to the city. So we had some zoning changes that were adopted in December. And so part of those zoning changes was under the economic development category. We have several commercial properties, right? Lydia Pinkham, the Sons Building, Eastland, the Harvard Folding Box in Westland, where like the Lydia Pinkham has over 100 businesses, right? We want to protect those jobs. And so we didn't want a residential developer to look at that and say, I can convert that to residential. And now all those jobs are gone. So one of the things that the council and the mayor adopted would be to preserve those commercial projects so that they don't get transformed into development. And the other piece of it, which isn't up there as a bullet point, is to make it more easy for businesses to open to the out of that ordinance. So it was all positive. We're going to keep up that. 2023. So as I keep saying, you know, we spent a long time chasing developers, and now they're chasing us, which is really good. The only like flashing yellow light that I'll do is interest rates have gone up, and the cost of construction have gone up dramatically. And so I haven't seen a decrease in interest. I haven't seen a decrease in the projects. I have seen a couple of major projects that we haven't announced yet hit a pause, not a cancel, but a pause, just so things can kind of settle. I think as we're looking forward to 2023, things are looking very strong. We're in a good position. And that's kind of my outlook as we're going forward. Desperately want to put COVID in the room. We just can't seem to get going. And in my lifetime, I've never seen anything impact businesses like COVID. 1 out of 4 restaurants across the country closed their doors forever. So, but saying all that, I always end up with an optimistic view. I think things are really good. The development community has found one. We have a great mayor working very closely with the council, which, when the council and mayor working together, great things can happen. And you're seeing that in 2022, a lot of things were accomplished. It's like the future is bright. Questions?
I'll throw one out there.
High fastball.
Yeah, exactly. With all the development happening, potential development and active development happening down by the GE Bridge, how essential is the establishment of a public train station at the gear plant location for these projects to not only move forward, but really pick up steam?
Yep. So I think when you talk about economic development, you talk about housing, you talk about transportation, right? So I think it's critical. And I think not only is it critical, we now have a story to tell, right? Before we would go into Boston and say, we really need that train stop there. And they look at us and say, oh, there's no development happening all around. Now we can paint the picture of, look at the Samuels project with the plans in place. Look at the Lynnway map with the project going forward. Look at A.W. Perry. Look at the North Harbor site. So now we have a very successful plan in place showing what's going on. And I think that we present a very strong argument that we need that train stop. You put 60 acres on the water, that's vacant land, right? You put mixed use there. And I mean, you're 20 minutes from Boston if that train stop is up and running. Right? It is pretty. And then the other part of transportation, the Sumner Tunnel is going to have major renovations this summer. It's going to be horrific getting in and out of Boston. The legislature has transferred $1 million to EDIC for the commuter ferry.
Yeah.
I really want to see that going. I think it's a viable option.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's critical.
Oh, Nathaniel, go for it.
Nathaniel, you're on mute.
No, I'm not. I just have my mouth shut. I have a question is, how is the transit-oriented design law with MBTA communities affecting new zoning in Lynn?
It hasn't had any negative effect as of now, Glenn. It was designed to, the intent of that law was to encourage development in gateway cities primarily. So it hasn't had any negative effect as of yet. There's the other zoning changes that we have made that I spoke of, I think are more pertinent and more of a positive for development to occur. So I haven't seen any negative to it yet.
For those of you who may not be familiar, the state passed a law that required density requirements for housing within certain radius of public transit stops. I don't think it really impacts Lynn. I think it has a larger impact on communities like Wampscott, which the area surrounding the train station is all currently single family housing, generally speaking. So it's more focused on trying to expand the housing density in more of the outlying communities. I don't think it necessarily was designed to expand the density in Lynn. Did I paint that picture about accurately?
I think you painted it very accurately.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the density required under that law is well below the density around T-stops in Lynn.
Yeah,
That's true.
Nathaniel, I think you had a question. Do you want to unmute and go?
I may have inadvertently hit a button or something, but since you asked, I am curious, speaking of the MBTA, what the status is of things like the viaducts, the parking garage, all that stuff. Obviously, the station is, you know, on a longer timetable for renovation, but anything the city's aware of that's relevant to those areas?
Nathaniel, I will tell you, I know I'm a dinosaur and I've been around 100 years, but there is no agency more difficult to deal with than the MBTA. And I say that with my filter on. You know, to take a parking garage and start the plan of closing, tearing it down, close down the stop simultaneously, that's a major hit to a city like Lynn. And so the mayor, the council have been pushing and pushing. We have a very active legislative body pushing as hard. Senator Crichton is chairman of the Transportation Committee. So we're working, Nathaniel. I wish I could speak positively and tell you how rapidly things are going to improve. It just, my experience is it takes a long time when you're dealing with the MBTA. That garage, by the way, is a gateway into our city, right? And so people always say, it's never used, it's never used. Over 200 cars parked there every day. Every day, over 200 cars are parked there. Where will those cars go? And so we're working with the T on that. I know the mayor is constantly calling and pushing to expedite the repairs that are necessary for the stop. We're doing everything humanly possible. If it was in the city's control, I could speak more detail oriented about what's going on, but it's in the T's control and it's frustrating.
Do we have a sense of the new governor's position on both transportation and economic development?
Well, so let me start with the lieutenant governor. So the lieutenant governor, which is right next door, she's a friend of the City of Lynn. She gets water transportation, she gets housing, she understands economic development. The mayor and I sit on many boards with her. So I think right away, Glenn, we have an in, if that's the right word, with the administration. The new governor, I think, will be very receptive in trying to push Lynn's agenda forward. I feel really confident that there's going to be a lot of partnership and synergy in moving the city forward with the new administration. And I definitely think it helps that the lieutenant governor comes from right next door.
Anybody else have questions or comments?
Yeah, I'll throw another one out there, and then maybe I'll just call on someone because it worked well with Nathaniel.
Nathaniel minding his own business.
I know. I just randomly called and he asked an amazing question. So everyone get a question in your head because something might be coming your way. One of the pieces of activity that I really supported and pushed for, especially during the mayoral campaign process, was the expansion of use of tips to attract business. I know that's more of the mayoral department's side, but from your standpoint, is this a tool that we are going to continue to actively use to continue to bring in businesses into the city?
Yeah, so any TIF that has been done in the last 30 years, I've had my fingerprints on it. So I'm a supporter when I think about, so we're talking about commercial TIFs. And so when you look at, we don't use it frequently, but it's very effective when we do. So we used it for Market Basket, created 300 jobs. We used it for Kettle Cuisine, which was a company out of Chelsea. They brought 100 jobs to Lynn. Today they have over 500. And so it's an effective tool.
And for Solion, we just
used it for Solion, which will create 100 jobs. And so it's a tool, you know. And so when a company is looking at options, should I go to Lynn? Should I go to Beverly? Right? We want to be able to say, let's put this on the table as an incentive to come here. And so we don't do it real frequently, but when you're talking about creating 100 jobs, say, I think that it's a tool that should be put on the table. So I'm a supporter of it. I think it's very effective.
Jim, what's the acronym?
I'm sorry, TIF, tax incremental financing. That's enough out of you.
You've been tested?
Yeah.
I was.
Sorry. And so it's just it's a tool that you take a period of years and you reduce the taxes and you gradually increase it over the amount of time. And in return, the companies promise jobs, but they also promise preference to those jobs for the residents. And so that's why I think it's a good tool. And so short answer or long answer is fully support it in the right case. I think it.
Is there a push to increase I mean, you had mentioned, I mean, we've used 3 in the past 10 years from the commercial standpoint.
Yeah.
Is there kind of a desire to increase the usage? Because to your point, it seems to be a very effective tool. And it may be something that if we start increasing the usage of this, I know that we have developers knocking on our doors versus us calling them, but
I will say this though, Colin, you go back, say, 10 years ago, Lynn was in a different place.
Right.
Not that we were desperate, but we were in a different place. Today, we have a much stronger position, right? So like, for instance, a TIF on a residential, like say Monroe Street, Cowdell, that was given because it would hopefully lead to future development, right? So there's reasons you do it. And so that it has to be right, but we're in a much stronger case now, whereas before, you would almost always offer it to someone 10 years ago. Now you don't really have to because we're in a much stronger place. But I don't get me wrong, I support it, it's attractive in the right situation.
I have one. Jim, you have an update, or what's the latest on the water shuttle?
The ferry?
The ferry, yeah.
So Bob from AW Perry asked about the latest in the ferry. So the legislature has approved $1 million for ferry transportation for 2023 this year. We have a $7.5 million terminal there that's state of the art. You get on that boat, you go to Rose Walk, 30 minutes, 31 minutes. When we did the pilot program, this is where I get so aggravated because we did a pilot program and we compared our numbers to Hingham, which is very successful, right?
Right.
Our numbers were better those 2 years than Hingham's first 2 years. So it definitely will work, but then the funding just went away. So I think that you're going to see the focus start to shift more on different transportation options. And so the ferry is a viable option. I don't know if you were here when I said the Sun Tunnel is going to be closed.
Yeah, sorry, I missed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's a good question. But there's going to be such gridlock going in and out of Boston this coming summer,
Right.
that the state will be saying to places like Lynn, help. And so I think that there will be additional money coming. I think that in 2020, it's the ferry up and running.
Is the $1 million for a study or is it
No.
for purchase and operation?
So we currently have a vessel, we have a lease with a vessel there, Walsh's Deep Sea Fishing, but we have a lease with them. They can hold over 200 passengers. The $1 million specifically is for operation of the ferry.
Oh,
not for
okay.
study. Yeah, okay, so we'll see.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Is the city hoping down the future to purchase our own ferry? Or is it
Yeah,
because we leased it before, correct?
we did, we leased it. What was it?
That-
Well, yeah, Boston
Yeah.
Harbor, thank you, CHC, Boston Harbor. We probably would lease again. Those types of vessels are very expensive, hard to come by, but, so we'll probably lease it again. I would love to get 2 or 3 trips back and forth every day.
And then the hope was if we had the ferry, you had talked a time ago about building the building there,
Yes,
have a restaurant,
Yep.
terminal.
yep, so that's breaking news, I'll share that with you. So if you go down there on Boston Street, there's the paved lot, and then there's the terminal.
Right.
Next to the paved lot is a large vacant lot, which EDIC owns. We'll be putting that out to bid in the spring. So we're hoping that a developer will come along and tie it in. Our vision was always first two-story building, first floor would be like the harbor master, coffee shop, the tomato ferries, right? And then the second floor would be like a legal seafood, some type of a restaurant like that with a beautiful view of the harbor. I think it really, it goes along with the development that I talked about. So that's what.
That whole.
Are we
structure
captain?
down there
Ooh,
is
sorry.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We use it for our jet skis. I mean,
Oh, really?
that, I mean, that whole area is a gold mine.
Yep. And so so the North Harbor was $115 million, that was a vacant lot, so that's developed. You'll see this year, the boardwalk will extend from the North Harbor site behind Kettle Cuisine to the ferry site, so you'll see that this year being built. So you're starting to see that activation.
So do you think with the magic wand, do you
Yep.
think we'll have a ferry come this summer?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
Awesome.
I would predict that the ferry definitely will be up and running, so.
Excellent. That's great news.
Let me timestamp this.
Yeah.
9:13.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Colin.
It is amazing, and I think it's when we had it up and running, the people who took it, they were so avid that about what a peaceful way to commute to work. You can do work while you're there. Coming back, you can relax, have a cocktail or whatever. It's just you're not stuck in traffic with the white knuckles. Just a much better
I
way.
have a brother-in-law that lives in Salem that took it often, and he goes, moved to Lynn and purchased a condo in Lynn, and so now he's hoping that,
Yep.
because he
No.
works in Boston. And,
How the pendulum is swinging.
okay.
It is. So I think that it's coming back.
Yeah.
And that $1 million will help.
Yeah, the trick there, I can tell you from personal experience, we built a housing project in the Hingham shipyard.
Yep.
Literally 400 yards to the Hingham ferry. And it's just the consistency of operation.
Absolutely.
And we're all creatures of habit, right? And
Yeah.
people get into their commuting pattern.
Mhm.
And if you drive every day, you drive every day. You take the train every day, you take the train every day. You take the boat, you want to know that you can take the boat every
Right.
day.
Right.
And if it's kind of on and off and.
Doesn't work. It has to be
you gotta-
consistent.
yeah.
We have to partner with the T so that the Charlie Bass is
Yeah.
accepted. But we're committed to doing it.
It took a long time for Hingham to build up the ridership that it has.
It did, but I'll tell you this, Bob,
Pretty
former
well.
Mayor McGee, in the peak of the recession, right? In the peak of the recession, we took a trip down to Hingham and they were doing $1 million homes constructing in the peak of that recession, right there. And you look at Hingham and you look at the mixed use development that's all around there, the restaurants, and the housing.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it works. And so why can't, it's same water, why can't that work here in Lynn?
Yeah, exactly.
So the other
Do you
town,
know,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, because you mentioned it, and I should know this, but I don't, but does Hingham own those? Who owns those? Are those ferries leased?
Very few cities,
Oh, actually own them, yeah. 'cause
Salem
it's part of
does.
the-
but Salem really is not a commuter ferry, it's a tourist.
Yeah, right.
It operates April to October. It's a tourism.
Yeah, right.
Very few people, Hingham does not, they.
The MBTA actually
Right.
owns and operates the Hingham and
Yeah,
the,
that's what I thought.
what's the,
Quincy.
whatever, the two South Shore ones.
This is the
Yeah,
one
they
close to Holland.
contract with BHC for the service.
Great.
So that's kind of a glimpse of where we are. The chamber has, especially the last 2 years with COVID, Colin, you've been absolutely awesome. You helped get the message out when there's been funds available for businesses. So I always say that the chamber is my partner, me representing the city. So, and there is a chance, in fact, there's a 99% chance that there will be some more COVID funds coming in the next 60 days. So that's a whole new packet of money that will be. So we're just trying to help businesses.
Oh, that's great.
So,
Awesome.
Great.
Any other questions?
Just one, how long do you anticipate that summer tunnel being shut down?
yeah, I mean, they're talking, you're not talking months. So it's going to be a real problem.
So we start in the summer.
It's supposed to start this summer. I'll try to get you a schedule.
Close down?
I'm sorry?
Close down.
They're talking about periodic shutdowns. So I
Open during the day.
periodic shutdown, something like that nature. there's major renovations going on. That's gonna take a long time to fix. I'll try to get this one. Do you? Yeah. Yeah. Take the boat.
Take the vote.
So they're gonna close between 6 and 10 every morning.
Yeah.
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 It's always a challenge when you're doing renovations, right? So.
There are those of us old enough to remember when there was only one tunnel between the Lynn Repair area and downtown Boston.
Yeah. But Jim, I'll keep you posted on that. Oh, yeah.
Now, the Sumner Tunnel, if I recall correct, that brings you basically into the Cambridge side of Boston, right? Or is the Sumner Tunnel?
No, it ends up in the north end.
North end.
North end.
Yeah.
at
Okay.
Haymarket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of
The Summer and the Callahan run parallel.
Yeah.
lines.
Right.
Callahan comes this way.
Yeah, the Callahan is the new tunnel.
Yeah, exactly.
Runs parallel.
All right. Well, if there's any other questions, it looks like we're good. Again, we're going to be meeting the first Wednesday of every month throughout the 2023. We're going to be meeting in person. There's going to be a Zoom option, but again, there's a lot of value to just getting back together and doing our part to get past COVID and connect in person, and then you get to see Jim in 3 dimensions instead of just 2 dimensions.
He looks pretty three-dimensional to me.
I have a face for radio going.
Don't we all?
So with that, we'll keep you posted on the topics coming up. And if anyone has topics that they want to hear discussed, please either reach out to myself or Glenn, and we can start to build those into the plan.
And
With
by
that,
the way, then the next month's meeting being the first Wednesday is actually February 1st. So
nice.
about as early as it gets.
Yeah. And I think actually it's March 1st as well, the following month. So with that, thank you guys very much. Have a great day. Happy New Year.
Thanks, man.
Bye.